So what are we going to talk about today? Well, let's start with one world government. And like it or not, it is going to happen. In order for our civilization to advance, it is a must. The question is, will it be a good thing or a bad thing? And the answer, well, it depends on the type of government and who controls it. So basically, it depends on you. There is some good news. If you're under the age of 25, barring a catastrophic accident, and with the advances the world is making in medical science, you will most likely live well into the next century, if not longer. The bad news, with the advances in technology, most jobs will be eliminated long before that time. So here are the facts. If you're under the age of 25, you have a tremendous opportunity ahead of you. Or you've got a big, big problem. And the way things stand in the United States of America today, it looks like you've got a big, big problem. Hi, I'm James Sluter, and this is the James Take on Facebook. Now, as for myself, I'm an observer of history, and I'm a contemplative dreamer of the future. And what I want to do with this series of presentations is take a look into the future. And in these first few presentations, I want to look at our most pressing issues of today: education, healthcare, jobs, the future of technology, religion, and one world government. And I want to look at the most probable possibilities regarding the way these issues will affect the future of politics in our society. Now, this presentation will be more of an introduction to the presentations that will follow. And though they are for everybody, I do want to focus on those of you who are between the ages of 18 and 25 and who are eligible to vote in the United States of America. And I want to emphasize to all of you 18 to 25-year-olds out there just how very, very important it is for you to vote in every election. And I'm not talking about just the national elections, but every state, local, and especially school board elections as well. Why? Well, because your age group is less likely to vote than any other age group. And it's your age group and those who will follow behind you that will be most affected by the elections we have coming up over the next decade. And it's in those state and local elections that your future, as well as the future of the nation, is going to be decided. And it's in those school board elections that will decide what your children and your grandchildren will be taught and what they will be allowed to learn should education still be available to the masses in the future. And it is a very real possibility that education will not be available to the masses in the future if education becomes privatized. And so it is that your fate and the fate of this nation, and truly the fate of the world, will be decided by no more than the next 2 or 3 national elections, possibly just the next national election. Now I want to repeat that to you. Your fate and the fate of this nation and the fate of the entire world will be decided by the next 2 or 3 national elections here in the United States of America. And it could possibly be decided by just the next national election coming up in 2012. So that is why each and every one of you have a big, big problem. Sound scary? You saying to yourself that I sound like everybody else trying to use scare tactics on you to get my message across? Well, the fact is, I am trying to scare you, and you damn well better be scared, because you will, in all probability, see in your lifetime a one world government. We know that it has to happen in order for our civilization to advance beyond the crude society that we live in today. And if it doesn't happen before the turn of the next century, I would be extremely surprised. But as I said, that is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, I think most of you out there who are under the age of 25, you'd love to see and be able to take part in the exploration and settlement of our solar system and beyond. Or you'd like to be part of a society that builds virtual worlds that you can live and work in. Or you'd like to see and be part of the medical technology explosion that will see your lifetime have the possibility of being extended into the hundreds of years, if not beyond. Imagine that. And that's just a tiny, tiny tip of the possibilities awaiting your generation. And it's those and other great projects that can only be achieved by the world as a whole. So the problem is not having a one world government. The problem is going to be, what type of government is it going to be that you're going to be living under? And the scary thing about that, there's only two possibilities. And therein lays your big problem if you're under the age of 25. Because there is an ultra-conservative, ultra-wealthy movement worldwide that is trying to determine your fate and the fate of future generations by turning this world back into a slave society. And believe me, it is very close to happening. Very close. You know, and the sad part about it is, it's the magnificent brilliance of those that have come before you that has made it possible for it to be so close to taking place. You know, it's a one thing that all of you love dearly. So one thing that all of you excel at over those of us who are dinosaurs. It's the one thing that your imagination sees no boundaries with. It's the one thing that we all need in order to progress beyond the lowly civilization we are today. And it's your creative brilliance and your love for it that can push us over the edge into becoming a slave society. What is it? It's technology, of course. The one thing that we need that can lead us to a future without disease, that can lead us to a world without famine and poverty, and that can take us throughout the solar system and beyond. The one thing we need to make us a great civilization, they are using against you, against all of us. And it will turn us all into slaves. But we don't want to slow down technological progress because it's so beneficial to all of us. So this is a huge burden to place on all of you. Your age group shouldn't have to contend with this. It's a huge burden, it truly is. But you are the only ones left who can save this society. Your brilliance, it's your brilliance in understanding technology and being able to integrate it with compassion and understanding. That's humankind's only hope for a future that is free from slavery. And that is a huge burden to place on your age group. And with that being said, if you want to survive the future, if you want your children and your grandchildren to survive the future, I have to emphasize to all of you out there the importance of the second part of the title of this presentation. And that is why you should never, ever, ever vote for a conservative candidate. Now, before you start throwing things at me and cursing me, I want to explain that I'm not advocating voting for any particular party. The fact is, both parties in this country are relatively conservative, and they both cater to the needs of the wealthy and not to the people. Nor am I talking about disregarding fiscal responsibility. It is imperative that we get and keep spending under control, and that the revenue we do generate is used for the long-term benefit of the people. Fiscal responsibility is one of the biggest factors for the long-term benefit of the people. But remember, it is for the people. But I'm not talking about fiscal responsibility right now. What I'm talking about are those very core conservative ideas that, as a nation and as the world leader among nations, we can't afford to have anymore if we want to see creativity, individualism, and freedom for the generations to come. The ideas, those ultra-conservative ideas that are being pushed, if left unchecked, will lead to slavery within your lifetime. And the wheels are already in motion. So what I'm asking you to do is watch these presentations with an open mind. Then ask the questions that it stirs inside of you to those who are in power. Tell them about your concerns and ask them questions. And don't settle for unsatisfactory answers. Sit down with your parents, with your mentors and your teachers. Sit down with your clergy and your spiritual counselors and discuss these things with them. Then challenge those politicians who want to mold your future. Are they molding it to your needs? Take a minute and envision the world the way you want it to be. Then ask that question first. Are they molding it to your needs, to your vision of what the future should be? If not, you need to do everything in your power to keep them from getting elected. And there are over 35 million of you out there between the ages of 18 and 25. You can tell this nation which direction you want it to go, and it'll have to go in that direction. You can decide the future, your future. But the only way you can decide that future is if you stand together. You can decide the future. The question is, will you?